Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is me, Rashda Dixon Vixen. It's been a long time since I've posted something on my YouTube channel, so I'm gonna get to the point right now. And as you see, that I'm not at home right now. I've been staying with my mom place for over a week, and there's a really good reason. For the past few months, I've been having bouts of indigestion. Like maybe I thought maybe it was from something I ate or eating too much salt or sodium or being late at night. But one Tuesday evening, I wasn't feeling very well because I threw up after I had another bout of indigestion, and I thought it would just go away. Then I all I ate was some a plain English muffin, some applesauce, and some tea and some water, and then I threw up a few more times, took a nap. I got up again, and it happened. Then at 7 o'clock, then I started feeling heaviness in my below my in my chest pain area, and I was like, I was about to panic. I was just like, no, oh God, no. And then I phoned my worker friend Chris, and she told me, okay, calm down. You got this. You need to call 911 and get to the hospital. So that's what I did. I went to the hospital on a Tuesday night. I was in an ambulance. Threw up once in the ambulance. Once I arrived at the hospital, I had to wait in the waiting room area, and it took a couple of hours, and I was just like tired. They gave me Gravol so to deal with the sickness. I was just so tired, and there was something on TV, a movie called A Safe Haven, and I was just so, like, I tried to sleep. I dozed off a few times, like, because I've been in that waiting room since about till about starting around 8 o'clock, and then I was in that waiting room for like 4 damn hours. And then they finally called my name. I needed to go to the green line. So eventually I had to phone the number and tell them to let me in. I did it a few times. Then they finally let me in. And they put me in a room. Got me hooked up on an IV. Got some blood work done. And I was like, what the hell's going on? What is going on? And so then I fell asleep a bit, and the doctor came in. I told him everything what's going down, and then the doctor told me, you have pancreatitis. I'm like, what? And I thought about, oh God, no. My best friend passed away last year from that disease. And I said to myself, well, oh God, I'm gonna end up like Michelle, who was my very best friend, my rock and everything. I lost her last year to that disease, and it's still haunting me today. And I say to myself, why? Why is this happening to me? What's causing this? And he goes, I don't know, but it probably, it's kind of other two things: alcohol, which I hardly ever drink, only like at least a glass of wine on a rare occasion, because I'm not much of a drinker, or gallstones. And I'm like, gallstones? Yeah, your gallbladder. I said, okay. So I think we need to get to the problem. So I had to be in the hospital overnight. I got some sleep. I was hungry. I ate some ice chips, And then the nurse came to me in the morning saying, we're going to take you up for an ultrasound to see what's causing the the, pancre- the pancreatitis. So eventually I had an ultrasound, and I was just like, I was going crazy, and I'm like, what is happening to me? What is happening to me? And I thought, oh God, is my life over? I'm just like, I was just so scared that all of these visions was coming into my mind, like flashbacks on my whole life. And I'm just like, come on, I'm gonna be 51, and I don't wanna. I got a lot to live for. And so after the ultrasound, they took me back to the bedroom area. I got a lot of sleep. My worker came with my earphones and some chargers and some earplugs so I couldn't block up the noise. And I couldn't even, haven't eaten or drinking anything, and it was just, I was getting really, really irritable. I was so irritable. I was so bored. Eventually, I watched some YouTube videos. I tried to get some sleep, but the noise was just driving me up the wall. So I asked the doctor, can you give me some gravel? Give me something to sleep. I need to sleep because I haven't heard from the doctor in hours. So eventually, Thursday came along, Thursday morning. I woke up, I still haven't eaten, I still haven't drunk anything. And I'm like, oh God, please, please, I'm starving here. And I was instructed by the doctors, no, we can't give you anything right now until we, until. So one of the nurses came up, one of the doctors come up to me and says, hi, says, I'm taking you up to the 6th floor because I guess they found a bed for me. I'm like, okay. So eventually I went up to the 6th floor. I went into the sunroom, which was my own private space for right now. And so I was in the room. I was trying to get some sleep and all that, charging up the phones and all that. And then the doctor came in and he says, we found out what's causing the pancreatitis. You do have gallstones, so we have to remove your gallbladder. And I'm like, oh no. I'm like, oh, shit. My very first surgery for 50, over nearly 51 years old. And I had my first surgery, and I'm getting my first surgery. So eventually so I was like in a state of panic. I was like, oh God, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? I'm scared. And I was just like, the doctor reassured me, says, it's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. I had nurses come in and say to me, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. And I just said to myself, I don't know. So eventually I thought about my best friend. I thought about my best friend who died last year. And I'm still trying to deal with it. And it's just very painful. It was just painful. And then I spoke to my worker and gave him a heads up and said on my Facebook page saying I have to have gallbladder surgery today. And they said, when's surgery? And he goes, aiming for this afternoon. I said, all right. Okay, so I needed time to readjust and everything. And I spoke to my worker, and her husband had his gallbladder and kidney stones removed. So I talked to him. He says, it's nothing to it. It's incisions. You're going to pull through. Your eating habits are going to be a little off, but you're going to be okay. It's nothing to it. Because we know in our heart, and my wife knows in her heart that you are going to pull through. But the truth is, I haven't told my family yet because I thought it was just some minor issue. Like I have to be under anesthesia. I've been under anesthesia one time, but that's when last year when I hurt my shoulder. I was out when I woke up, my arm was in a sling. And I'm like, okay. I thought I was going to have surgery on my shoulder last year. So eventually, they found me a room, but the first room says, that's not the right room. So they took me back into the sunroom again. Then about an hour later, found me a room. I I bunked with a really nice old lady. Her name was Margaret, and she was going through what I was going through. She was like in her 90s, and she was such the sweetest woman I ever met. I started crying as soon as I got on the bed, and Margaret says, "You're gonna be okay." She gave me some Kleenex, and I started to cry. And I said to myself, "Oh God, God, please." I kept praying heads and tails, saying, "Am I gonna have to, I need to pull through. I gotta pull through." And so she said, okay. So eventually I decided to forego the surgery for now because I had lots of blood work done and everything and blood pressure as usual. And I'm just like, okay. So since I had my phone, I decided to catch up on Law and Order, the episodes I missed for 2 weeks because I decided to break up with my cable company. I broke up with cable because I realized I don't need it and all I can do is stream, and I hate commercials. I really do. I always mute them because I can't stand them. So eventually I was watching Law and Order. I finished both episodes of Law and Order. Then I started watching the 2 episodes I missed of Special Victims Unit. Like I was in the middle of the first episode, and then an orderly came in and said, "Okay, it's time to go to the OR." And I'm like, "Oh God." So I shut off Law and Order. I they took me down. They took me on a gurney and they took me down to the surgery, and I'm just like, "Dear God, what? Dear God, this is it. Oh God, am I gonna see light? Oh God." But the orderly, he was a really nice man. He cheered me up and all that. He sang to me, and so I got into the OR in the waiting area and waiting to get into the operating room. So eventually, I was there. I was spoke to the anesthesiologist, and I was waiting for them to come and says, "Why don't you just get it out and get it over with?" So eventually, I was standing, sitting around trying to sort through stuff, and then the doctor came and says, "We're taking you back up to the 6th floor. We just have a life threatening emergency, and we always do the life threatening ones first because you're non life threatening." And I'm like, "Okay, I understand." I was a little annoyed at first. Then they took me back up to the 6th room. They told me, "You're back? You're back already?" I said, life threatening emergency surgery." So eventually, here I am. I was hoping I could eat something if in case the surgery doesn't happen. So I turned on. So I started finishing. I finished up watching Law and Order SVU. Then moved on to both episodes of Law and Order Organized Crime. So eventually, and I decided I need to email my mom and my parents and say what's going on. And I was like, okay, I don't know how to say this. And so eventually, that's what I did. And they gave me a TV, like it was from the other guy that came in. They had it there till like about, like he got, he was, he was discharged from the hospital and he still had all this time on the television. So they gave me free TV. So I tried to find City TV so I could watch Law and Order. But eventually I couldn't find Law and Order. I called an orderly, I called a nurse, and then I looked at my phone and I realized it was preempted. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, all right, that TV sucks. So I didn't bother watching it. so I didn't bother to watch it. So, but eventually, at about, which is a good thing because at about 8:30, they came back and says, "Okay, it's time to go back down again." I said, "Okay, okay." So I said to myself, "Okay, this is it. This is it." I put a lot of stuff. I'm. They got me in a gown. They put something over my head. They put a mask on me. I said, "Okay, this is it. This is it." Okay, it better happen, it better happen, it better happen. So they parked me. They took me down to the OR waiting area, waiting to go in. I said to myself, okay, okay, this is it. I said, okay, this is the moment. This is the moment. I was just so nervous. I was so going crazy. And so then it was time for me to go into the OR, and I was just afraid. I was so scared. And I told the nurse says, "It's okay. We'll be there. We're going to take good care of you, okay?" I says, "Okay." And I thought about Michelle when I was going to go into the OR. I thought I was afraid I was going to end up in a medically induced coma like she did. And I was just like, please, I just please said, "Please, God, please. I need to make up for shit and all that." So eventually, as soon as I got into the OR, I met the surgeon. He says, "We're going to take good care of you." So they had me slide onto the operating table. They had my arm strapped down, put like a blood pressure cuff on me. They started breathing into the oxygen mask, and I'm like, "Oh, please, please, don't, oh, please." I said, oh my God, I thought I'd see light. They say it's gonna be okay. And I kept saying, I prayed silently to myself, "Get me through this, God, please get me through this." And so, when they finally, anesthesiologist finally knocked me out, which I said to myself, "Okay, let's do this." And then, so when they knocked me out, it was like, I woke up, and it was like after 1 in the morning, and I was in like pain, and then the pain, and I'm like, "Oh shit." And then I said to myself, what? I was groggy from the anesthesia, and they say, "It's 1:30. It's okay. You made it. You did great." I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, thank God that is over. I got my gallbladder removed. I don't have to worry about getting a lot of heartburn anymore." So the gallstones got removed, the gallbladder got removed. And they kept saying, "You don't need the gallbladder. You don't need it." Okay, so they finally took me back up to my room. The nurses kept saying, "You did great. You did really, really good." I said, "Thank you." And I thought to myself, I'm afraid I might see Michelle. I might see me going to the light walk to walk towards Michelle, and she'll put her arms around me. I wanted to tell her, "Why did they take you away? Why? I just don't understand. We have so much to do." And I told her, I said, "Michelle, I love you. Why? I need you. I miss you so much. It hurts. I'm trying to deal with the pain." And Michelle told me, and I think I realized that Michelle was there by my side all this time. Her spirit was touching my heart, and she said, "Jen, you're going to get through this. You got a lot to live for. Even though I'm gone, you know, my body is not there. My soul is with you always. I'm okay, and you're going to be okay." I realized that Michelle was there all this time watching over me, saying, "So you're gonna be okay." And so when I got into the room, I was just groggy from the anesthesia. I decided that usually when have gallbladder surgery. They're out like in that same night or day, and I said to myself, "Oh, I'm not gonna go. I'm not going home. I need to stay one more day." So, for observation, saying no infection, no or anything, and they said to me, "Okay." So eventually, but the best part is, I got to eat and drink again. Thank heaven. Thank God. So eventually I took some naps and made some calls and caught up on my social media and all that. But eventually I I tried to go to sleep at night, but I just couldn't because I watched a movie before I went to bed, before I slept. I watched a movie on my phone. Eventually my earplugs died, but they gave me she gave me the wrong cord. So I said, okay, fuck. So eventually I tried to sleep. I asked the nurse, says, could you please get me something to go to sleep? And she says, no, we can't, because I'm still groggy from the anesthesia. So I tried to sleep. I was uncomfortable, so I moved up to a reclining position in my bed, and then I felt I just did not want to hurt myself again. So I did the best to sleep, but then eventually after lunch, they discharged me. They said they've decided. I was just weeping. I was weeping. I just didn't know what was going on. So they decided to give me a prescription, and they decided, do you have anywhere to go? I emailed my mom to see if I could stay with her to recuperate from my surgeries, and she said, but eventually she got sick with bronchitis. So I said to myself, it's okay, I'll just stay at my place for one night. And so eventually, and I had my friend Daniel over to do my dishes and take out my garbage and talk for a bit. And eventually, as soon as they got me some cab vouchers to, so I took a cab home, and they gave me a prescription for about, I believe, 5 or 6 painkillers, because that's all I need. So eventually, because I don't want to, so I could deal with the pain, because it's usually in the week it's dreadful. But I had some Advil with me, so, and eventually I started packing to get ready to go to my mom's the next day, and I got so I was emotional. I was crying. I was in a blubbery mess, and I had tears running down my face. I'm like, why am I crying? Why am I crying? And I explain it to them. It says, it's the anesthesia. It's wearing off. That's why people are crying. Your hormones are screwed up, and my hormones are like, fuck. Why am I doing this? But then I slept in my own bed and slept on used my reclining pillow that I had to use when I hurt my shoulder really badly. And so eventually I was out like a light. I went to bed after I watched a movie, and then I slept in the bed. I was going to sleep in the reclining love seat, but eventually I tried out the bed with the reclining pillow, and it worked. And I found it worked better. I had the mask over my eyes, I had earplugs on, and I was out like a light. And then my mom came, and that's why I've been since last Sunday. So far, I just needed rest and all that. But then a few days came along. On Monday, I called my worker, and I don't know, maybe maybe it's the painkillers. And lately, I've been having building problems, and like due to like disarray of the building is in bad shape, and there are no, like, pleading for help is on deaf ears, and there were cockroaches, and I said to myself, I gotta get out. I said to myself, I gotta get out of here. I don't know how much longer I can take this. I'm usually moved back out here so I could avoid the stress of my recovery. And so I spoke to Amanda, and we talked about, and I said, you know what? I think it's the best thing for you. It's like it's temporary housing I'm gonna go to, so I could get back on my feet again. I just want to get my life back. I want to go back to volunteering. I'm independent and all that. It's only a temporary thing. So I have an appointment to for this community home that in at around next on Wednesday at Wednesday, and Amanda's taking me there, and it's I have not made any decisions yet, hasty decisions, because I want to avoid that. So mhm. So eventually, like, I want to save money. Like, it was costing way too much money. Still don't have a job. I'm gonna go back after that, after my recovery period. I'm gonna go back to looking for a job, go back to the employment hunt. And so, but first I need to get my recovery, my housing situation all organized, and then the job hunt starts. But the place they're sending me, like, they know I'm very independent, and I do not want to lose my independence. That's the last thing I want to do. But I just don't like strict rules. But the only strict rule they have is, like, coming home really late, but, like, for any other reason. So eventually, they know that, and so I'm gonna go check the place out. I'm not making any decisions yet. So eventually, so Wednesday when the appointment comes, yeah, I'm going back home on Tuesday, and yeah, my place is a cluttered mess right now, like, 'cause mainly it's because of claustrophobia, depression, and all that. See what's going on. I'm just so unsure in my life right now. I'm just so unsure. So eventually, I'm going back. So eventually, so I went back today to pick up a few bits of laundry to do here, and got some food to bring back here. And you know how moms are, they want to look out for you, and she's just say, and it's like, sometimes they nag you, and they say, but the best advice receives is, take this as a grain of salt. At least she's there when you need her. And I did need my mom, and I think I should communicate with her more often. I should communicate with my family more often. That's my biggest downfall, because I usually my mind wanders off, and I just want to be wise about my decisions from now on. So eventually that's the plan. So I don't know what's going on. I gotta wait till Wednesday. This will be starting. There will be. This isn't. I'm currently in my second week of recovery. I got about 2 to 4 more weeks to go before I have a post-op. So appointment. So eventually, things are gonna get better. It's gonna be one day at a time. So right now, I'm just too bombarded and too overwhelmed with questions right now, because right now I just want to get through a few more things before I make a decision. And the building I live in, it's 20 I've been living there for over 23 years, and it was a beautiful building, and now it's falling apart due to, like, these renovictions and all that. That's why I joined Hamilton Acorn to, I want to fight for all the other tenants who are victims of rent evictions. Like this one apartment that they had, like it's in downtown area. They have been without water since Christmas Day. And right now the city is giving them water jugs so they could live with water. So, and I think it's really disgusting. And I think the owner of this building, I know his name. I'm not going to mention his name, but that it's really, it makes me sick what they're doing. It is sick. And what they're doing right now, it's really disgusting. Like why do they want to buy places, move them out? Like, what about like geared to income? Like we need safe conditions to live in. Like we need water, we need heat. And what do these selling slumlords do? They want to throw you out and then renovate the place, so double charge the rent, and I can't afford to pay all that rent. I can't even pay my rent alone because right now everything's costing me a lot of it's everything's costing money on it, and I'm behind on a few bills, and it's despicable. And I blame the government for this. This is not right. It's not fair. Like, think of the homeless people. Think of everyone. Now people, they have to move out because they want to move, but they can't afford to move because they're like doubling the rent and all that. And it's like if you think the lockdown of COVID is bad, this is a lot worse. Because right now, all what they're doing right now, it really makes me angry. It makes me angry. It makes me sick, and it hurts. And right now, I never felt betrayed. My the place I lived in, like half of the tenants, like most of the tenants are like gone. There are like about six people in my in the building now, including me. Including me, there's like I believe four other people living there, and they're waiting to get out. And so eventually, like the landlords are on their case, like they don't want people parking their cars there anymore. There's like people, it's a mess. It's a really big mess, and they really need to pay. And I think this was a sign saying it's time to move on to something better, and that's the plan. I'm going to move on to something better. I'm not making any decisions yet. I just need to get through my recovery first. Then the housing situation I'll go to, and then the employment. Then I'll find employment. Like there's so many things I want to do this year because I'm tired of being stuck in a rut and I'm sick of it. So eventually I'm gonna go and I know I said to myself, things will get better. It just take it day by day. That's all you can do. And I feel like I'm doing this alone, but I realize I'm not alone. I have help. I have support. My family, my friends, the people who work with me, they are my support. So that is why I want to bring you up to date about my situation right now, and just want to let you know that I'm okay and things are really going to start slowly begin to get better. Things will only get better. And I just want to think positive. I want to have positive thoughts. I want to continue. I just want to continue living my life. So eventually, well, I guess that's it then. So that's all I wanted to talk to you about. So this is me once again, Rishta Dixon Vixen, saying good night and God bless.